Hello, and welcome to the final episode of the 6th year of Wright Virtual Visits. I'm Anna Kaplan, Executive Director of Lloyd Wright's Graycliff, coming to you live today from Western New York. And I'm honored to be giving you a sneak peek of a very exciting development at my very own Wright site today in Derby, New York. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge and thank my colleague Eric Rogers from the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. You'll see Eric on the screen later in the episode during the Q&A portion. And until then, he will be monitoring our Facebook feed, as we always do, watching for your questions. So please, as always, ask all of the questions, post them directly into the Facebook thread, and we will catch them for the Q&A portion of the program. I'd also like to express enormous gratitude to Allison Grant at ACG Productions for her firm's ongoing support of this program. ACG's contributions have been essential in keeping this program going. And ACG works with all kinds of clients, not only nonprofits like us, but businesses, families, and couples, helping them to tell their stories through video. They do brand work, mission videos, weddings, legacy films, and so much more. They're very talented. We highly recommend them. So if you're ever looking for a video production team, I hope you'll think of them. Thanks again to Allison, Charlie, and the entire ACG team. All right. So as I mentioned, today we will be traveling virtually to Graycliff on the shores of Lake Erie. And full disclosure, I had planned on being there live in person while also sharing videos. We discovered actually last time we hosted Wright Virtual Visits that the site just cannot accommodate a live stream. Because of our placement geographically, the cell service is really awful. And we do not have the Wi-Fi hooked up yet in our new visitor center. So I was going to stand out on the lawn. Allison, can you please share the photo? And this was a picture I took just yesterday. What I didn't factor into the equation was that the wind chill today, with the wind chill, it feels about 13 degrees Fahrenheit out there. And for my own sanity and health and the quality of this program, I made the decision to stream live from the comfort and warmth of my own home today. But while we're looking at this picture, just to orient you, Frank Lloyd Wright designed Graycliff as the summer property for Darwin and Isabel Martin. I know that you're very aware of their urban residence in the Parkside neighborhood of Buffalo. It's about 20 miles away from where Graycliff is, high on a cliff, a 60-foot cliff on Lake Erie. The view that you're seeing right here is unlike anything the Martins would have ever experienced, as this was designed as their summer home and they were only there in the summer. But what I love about this is the white snow-capped roofs. It really is beautiful year-round, and as a publicly accessible Wright site, we usually are open for tours year-round. All right. So I am going to be showing you some pre-recorded videos that I took just a few days ago before the snow, which I think benefits us. So Allison, let's start with that first video. You could see the houses right over there to the right. And what you're looking at here is an active construction site. We are building a very exciting new facility, a new visitor center, which was a really essential project for us. Before this building, we had no interior space to host any sort of programming. Our facilities were very limited. And what we get here with this new building is an expansion of the building that we were using before from 1,600 to 4,400 square feet. And that includes ample flexible space for all sorts of events and programming. There will also be space for us to better interpret all the layered history of Graycliff and give people an opportunity to have an inspiring experience outside of the tour of the historic houses. There's also things like visitor amenities, there's space for retail, and so much more. We had been working for about over 20 years out of a building that was designed by the second owners of the property, a very nondescript concrete block building that was designed actually to be a gym and then retrofitted in the early 2000s as a visitor center. And it served an excellent purpose for, as I mentioned, over 20 years. But we definitely outgrew it. Allison, let's go to the next video. I also want to mention that as part of this project, there's some landscape renovations that are part of this. It's a big mud pit right now, but by the time summer comes, I'm hopeful that there will be grass there. And ultimately, that large lawn to the right will host an orchard, which we are also in the process of revitalizing. The Martin family did have an orchard. They also had a vegetable garden. And we love that layer of sustainability that we have to our story. So this is the front door. It will be glass. But people will visit. When they visit, they will enter right here. Also, what you can maybe see here is there is this extensive patio. Thank you, Allison. The patio will also support our programming. It's very exciting. I am constantly amazed by what we're able to do at Graycliff in terms of programming. But for the many years that I've been with Graycliff, we have been using very limited facilities, and we've been using the historic grounds to support our programming, which is really wonderful in the summer, but it also is weather contingent, and we cannot have events and programming year round. So the next video, Allison, we're going to go right into this front door. It's not much to see right here, but when you enter in 2026, that corner right there will host this really wonderful donor recognition effort that is going to utilize trees that were necessarily felled during construction. That all the interior walls at this point are done. So what you're looking at is a lot of construction materials, but they are in a big, wide, open space and I'm so excited about that big, wide, open space. Directly ahead of us right here is the retail area. And this represents a lot of the footprint of the original building. So the building is still there. This project was one of selective demolition. And you can see right there that strip of cinder block. That was an architectural design detail that was intentional to remind us of that building because it is important to our history. We're making our way over to a very special corner. It's not this one, it's the one behind us. But as you can see, there's a lot of glazing, a lot of glass. And one thing that the architects did really, really well is they were inspired by Wright's organic architecture and this idea of trying to create a seamlessness between the interior and the exterior. One of the ways that they're doing that is certainly with glass, but also the repeated use of materials. And this corner is going to be a real aha moment. I mean, even amidst all this construction chaos, you can get it right now. You can see the historic houses. This is where your tour will begin. And before tours began in this cramped hallway near restroom, it was less than ideal. You'll also get this amazing view of the picking garden. So that last image that we left on was that garden a few days ago. So not a lot going on. It's very dormant. But that garden is an incredible piece of the property. And here you see it in bloom in June. Isabel Martin was an avid floral arranger, and this was a flower picking garden that supported her hobby. We also at Graycliff, besides the genius of Lloyd Wright, We also happen to have, as part of our history, Ellen Biddle Shipman, who was a very prominent landscape design architect hired by the Martin family in 1929 to detail Wright's plans for the landscape. One thing that we had to do in order to prepare for this was to remove many of those plants from the garden. This is our thank you so much, Allison, our green team volunteers helping to remove those plants last fall. We replaced the path with a more accessible path. And we didn't want to disrupt the plants. So they were sitting on the lawn all year. And I think we have an image of that as well. Here is our head gardener, Emma Hahn, caring for those plants. I'm hopeful that come spring, we'll see it all come back to life, and that the picking garden is truly one of my favorite spots on the property. All right, let's go back into the building, and we're going to walk from that corner back towards the office areas. So again, all this equipment is in this big open space. What is missing here, there'll be a modular reception desk for visitors when they arrive, to check in for their tour, to purchase tickets, that sort of thing. Again, the retail shop, the retail space will also feature a very modest grab-and-go cafe. But what I love about that is that visitors will have the chance to really linger and absorb the site. It's one thing to go on a guided tour and get all that cerebral information, but what Wright was really interested in was a relationship of the lake to the architecture, and to be able to sit there and let it all seep in will be amazing. This is a quick stop into the restroom. We're having one restroom for all people. That allows us to have more stalls and create a nice flow. And the tile's absolutely beautiful, and the materiality of that is also a nice homage to Wright. These are the staff offices. Back here, there'll also be a conference table and a little pantry kitchen to support our staff and volunteers. So really excited about that. This was not an easy design scenario. The architects, Situ Studio, they're based in Brooklyn. They collaborated with HHL Architects based right here in Buffalo, in the Allentown neighborhood of Buffalo. Together, they created this collaborative design. And to create a building that is both functional, but also aesthetically appropriate for a site that is dedicated to design and aesthetics and furthering Frank Lloyd Wright's legacy, was a major challenge. And we really wanted a building that was in deference to Wright and served all of our functional needs, but did not overshadow his historic houses. And I'm really, really pleased with where we are. I'm going to now draw your attention to two very specific design elements of this new building. So let's go to that last video. So one is this wooden soffit. It's a very dramatic design decision, and you can see it's actually a system called Akoya wood. It's a wood product. It kind of snaps into place, and this is going to be a wonderful welcome dramatic element. And then there also will be slats of a very similar product that mirror the exterior soffit on the interior. Again, this repeated use of materials is definitely taking a cue from Frank Lloyd Wright. The other very special design element is the concrete on the exterior that you see. The concrete was formed with actual wood boards, and they did that in order to imbue the concrete of the walls with the texture of wood. And I'm going to turn around and we're going to maybe get a better look at that. But in person, it's really wonderful. So right here, it's a little bit hard. It was a rainy day, but It is a very special and actually even kind of subtle design detail. Again, it continues from the interior to the exterior. This is how they achieved that. We actually did a mock-up because there were two routes to go with this. We could have used actual wooden boards and to receive that texture, that pattern onto the concrete, or you can purchase a form liner, essentially a silicone or plastic liner that has that printed pattern to give that look. So we created a mock-up, and we ultimately decided that we wanted to go with the wood. I'm so pleased with how it turned out. This is it in progress. We did hire LaChase Construction. They self-performed the concrete. They're also our general contractors on the project. But one of the reasons why we went with LaChase was because we knew that they would do the best job possible on the concrete portion. And so finally, I want to share with you the rendering of, our vision for this space. So you can see how the soffit interacts with the rest of the building. On top, there's this green roof. That's actually planned for a future phase, but we're really looking forward to that. We're doing everything we can right now so that when we do have the funding for that next phase, we can buy those planters and install that piece of the project. You can also see there's landscape design elements, these beautiful rain gardens. Bayer Landscape Architecture, based in Rochester, is responsible for the landscape design. And again, there will be an orchard planted next year, which is very exciting. I can't explain enough how these new facilities will really change everything we do at Graycliff. And this is a project that I've been working on since I was hired in 2019. The design was actually chosen before me, and the design team assembled in 2018. And I was put in charge of raising the funds for the project. And I do feel that stars have aligned because we are over 80% complete right now, and we're on track to open in 2026, which happens to be the centennial anniversary of Wright's design for the Martins Summer Retreat. And it's just so special. And I very much look forward to sharing it with all of you. All right, Eric, should we bring you on and see if there's any questions?
Sure. Well, thanks for giving us this sneak preview, Anna. This is so exciting. I was lucky enough to visit Graycliff during the first in-person conference that the Conservancy held in 2021 after I joined the staff in 2020. And I can only imagine how this is going to change the sort of logistics. Remember, we were bringing 90 people to the site all at once, and it was a serious challenge to figure out what do you do with 90 people, many of whom need to use the restroom, need a place to sit down. So it's easy to see how
park the bus. That too. We do have some improvements to also the parking area as well.
Well, that'll definitely make things easier for our friends who have to drive the charter buses. That's always a fun wrinkle. Well, we've had a few questions come in, and I want to remind everyone who's watching live that you can put questions in the comments, and I'll keep an eye if any more come in. Want to talk a little bit about the roof. One question that came in the comments, and then a few more of my own. So I'm really curious, how and where does the roof drain? And has there been testing or provision made to make sure that you don't have a problem with like icicles or snow melt on those very special soffits?
Thank you for asking that question. There are gutters. There are special gutters, and I wish that I had a construction professional with me on this, but we have had a lot of conversations about that, and in particular, heat tracing which is when you install a way to heat the gutters to prevent icicles. So because the cost of that was actually a little bit prohibitive, we made a decision to invest in the electricity for the gutter system, so that if we felt we needed it, we could install the heat tracing in a future phase. And what we're going to do is we're going to get through the 2026 winter year and see and observe how it goes. And then we do have that option. But that's an excellent question.
So it sounds like a little bit of a wait and see how the roof performs over
Yes.
the first year or two and think about, yeah.
Allison, if you want to bring up the rendering, in the rendering, you can see the gutter system a little bit. So it's those, those vertical lines that are kind of brown, like those are actually gutters.
Okay, so that entire roof surface, even though it protrudes out beyond the edge of the building, it's draining back and running down those those
and
vertical.
It is sloped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is for the green roof, is there sort of a system of modular planters that you're going to be installing in the future? Is that the idea?
Exactly, and it's a partially green roof, so it's along the edge.
So it'll sort of affect what you see as you approach it, but it doesn't come all the way into the interior. Okay. Well, that's probably enough about the roof. Let's see, a couple of other questions. So what are you most excited about in terms of what the visitor center will offer to visitors?
Sure. So for those of you that have maybe toured Graycliff in the past, you would come to our other visitor welcome building. And when you began your tour, there was a scale model showing the historic houses in relationship to the cliff. But that was it. No other kind of exhibit materials explaining our history. One of the really fun parts of this project for me has been being involved with the materials. We're working on this very cool timeline that will put Graycliff in context, not only of the Martin family and Frank Lloyd Wright, but in a larger context, world context as well. There'll be technology in this space. We had nothing like that in the old space. So the technology will allow us to, we're going to screen an 8-minute intro video that we're also working on for touring guests, but it will also serve a dual purpose of supporting programming. We could host an event like this, from the visitor center, stream live, that sort of thing, and all sorts of other things. So very excited about that. And then I should also mention that for those who are coming and maybe not going on a guided tour, maybe they showed up and it was a day that we weren't offering tours, or the tours were sold out, or it's financially inaccessible. You can engage with our history through these interpretive materials. You can have a coffee or tea. You can meet someone there and sit and enjoy the building, enjoy the view. There weren't opportunities to just sit and relax the way our old site was.
So it'll definitely change sort of the progression for visitors that are arriving, but the tours are still going to depart from the visitor center. It just will not be a cramped hallway next to a bathroom.
Yes, exactly.
But you will still have the model, right?
No, we're not. We're not getting rid of the model. The model's alive and well, so don't worry. But it will actually live in our garage, the garage that Wright designed, the building that Wright designed as a garage with an apartment above. So there are 3 structures that Wright designed for Graycliff. The main house, which we call the Isabel R. Martin house, and then this second house with the garage and the apartment. above, and then the third structure is a small heat hut designed for a boiler system. So we've been using the garage space in a pinch for things like docent training. Right now it's our temporary welcome area, but I'm really excited to have that space be part of the tour once again. The model is going to be there. It's going to be an alternate space to view the 8-minute intro video. I also hope to borrow a car, a Pierce Arrow that we knew that the Martins had. The Buffalo Transportation Museum right here in Buffalo has this incredible collection of cars. They also have the Wright filling station. So anyone who's in the area should definitely stop there, but they are generously offering us the opportunity to loan one of these vehicles. And we've had the car out there for brief periods in the past, but now we'll have the space to turn that garage space back into more a contributing part of the tour, and would love to have that car.
Wow, that's really exciting. I remember the model being a really impactful thing to see because it shows you just the drama of that cliff top location.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about what we're losing with that model, and that you hit the nail on the head. My thought is that someone can spend a lot of time on the site. They can go on the tour. They can then go back to the new visitor center and hang out and not fully understand how we're geographically situated atop this very dramatic 60-foot cliff. And that's what the model kind of shows you. So there will be imagery in the visitor center that shows our location on that cliff.
Yeah, I know. I'm certain there's a lot you could do with photography, like drone or aerial photography or things like that, that might really highlight that. So talking about things that may or may not still be there, are the tennis courts still there, or is this being built on top of them?
Yeah, so for those of you that are familiar with the layout of the site, there are tennis courts that were part of Wright's original design, and he spec'd this red colored concrete, which is not surprising, but a really awesome design feature of our property. And the old visitor center backed up against the tennis courts. So this visitor center is in the same location as that old visitor center. It essentially is an addition that envelops the visitor center, but the entire back portion that looks out into the tennis courts is all the same. There's this historic stone wall, which you can see in, Allison, maybe put up the image of the garden in bloom. You can see the historic stone wall right there on the left. So that stone wall kind of delineates in many ways the what we call the historic home grounds, which are to the left, and that's where the historic houses are, and then the contemporary property. And although the picking garden is definitely a historic feature, and that wall extends all the way to our property line. And so if you can imagine, we're looking out on this, and behind us is the visitor center, and then the tennis courts are over there to the left.
So what are you most excited about in terms of what the visitor center is going to change for the staff and for operations?
Oh, well, I'm really excited to have an office with a window. I had the staff offices in the old building were truly closets. Had been designed as closets in this gymnasium building, and then they were turned into offices. And I always thought it a bit ironic that this office space that I was working from was so soul sucking when the rest of the property was so inspiring. So now, being in a well-designed space with a window will really help all the staff. And then, we just got through a really tough year of hosting tours all during construction. And my staff is absolutely incredible. We're a very small but mighty team. And one thing that I keep saying to them is that this is that's the hardest that it's going to get. We're going to have this new building, and our options are going to be so much better to support everything that we're doing. And we've always made do with what we had, and we won't have to operate in that way anymore.
Well, I'm sure that's going to be a big relief. So do you have a sense of when the building might open and when you're going to resume tours this spring?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Right now, we're definitely will be closed for sure for the month of December and the month of January. We hope to resume tours at some point in February, but that's to be determined based on all those final details wrapping up. We are going to have a grand opening during the first weekend in May. And then, continue out the season from there. But we'll have, a soft opening at some point well before then.
And do you also anticipate that there might be some special centennial events for Wright's design of Graycliff coming up?
Yes. We are celebrating our centennial years, 2026 through 2028. So that covers Wright's design in 1926, construction of Graycliff in 1927, and then the Martin family's first summer on the property, which was in 1928. So we're going to be celebrating our centennial years for over 3 years and have all sorts of associated programming. And we will be explaining all the specifics early in the new year. You can check back at our website, experiencegraycliff.org. And please follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, FLW Graycliff. And, we'll definitely be communicating through those channels with all of our exciting programming for 2026.
Well, fantastic. I know that it's going to be a huge relief and really transformational for you and your team when this opens. So hopefully things continue to go smoothly over the next couple of months and you don't get too much more snow.
Yes.
So that things can stay on track.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, well, I want to thank everyone who has tuned in for this episode of Wright Virtual Visits, as well as all the others that we've done this year. We're going to go on a little bit of a winter break now. Obviously, with a construction project like this, Anna's got her hands pretty full. But we hope to have news about Wright Virtual Visits early next year. In terms of what we might be doing in the future. But I do just really want to thank Anna and thank Allison and Charlie at ACG. It takes, and as well, Elisha Marin, who's not able to be with us today, but who has been part of our creative and planning process over the last year. It takes a team to do this and to keep doing it for 6 years, which is hard to believe that is how long we've been up to it. But thanks so much, everyone. And I think with that, any last words before we sign off?
I want to also thank the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy for dedicating staff resources to this. We're always very invested in trying to get people to public rights sites and, furthering Wright's legacy, and very grateful to the Building Conservancy for making this a priority.
Well, it's our pleasure, and I definitely agree. Hopefully this year we've inspired people to visit Graycliff and the Marin County Civic Center and SC Johnson, and I am trying very hard, and Florida Southern College. But as always, you can go back and watch 6 years almost worth of these videos. Some of the earliest ones are not easily findable anymore, but certainly by the second year, we were doing a good job of archiving them. And you can find those on the Conservancy's website at savewright.org/WVV. So I think we will leave it with that. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.